Welcome to the Insync Insurance podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Cross, and today we'll be covering aesthetic courses and the new industry standard. Here today we have guests Laura Holdstock, Runa McNamara and Soph to discuss this and provide insights into the industry. So let's get into it. Could you introduce yourself, Laura?
My name's Laura Holdstock. I'm Head of Quality for Hair, Beauty, Wellness and Aesthetics with Qualifi.
That's brilliant. And Runa, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Runa McNamara. I'm Director for Hair, Beauty, Wellness and Aesthetics for Qualifi Limited, awarding organisation.
That's okay, sorry. And Soph, if you could introduce yourself.
Yep, so I'm Soph and I'm a Partnership Executive at Insync Insurance.
Brilliant, and I am the host, Dawn Cross. So we're here today to discuss about aesthetic courses and basically what Qualifi gets up to. What is an aesthetics course?
Well, there are a number of different aesthetics courses out there, but we offer qualifications which are regulated qualifications, and we have the Level 5 certificate in aesthetic practice, which covers microneedling and medium grade peels, and we also have a Level 7 certificate in aesthetic practice, which deals with injectable treatments, which would be your botulinum toxins or your dermal fillers.
What advice would you have for beginner aestheticians?
If you decide that this is the course you want to take, you need to really do a bit of research on the centre that you go to for your training and make sure that they're offering the qualifications that you need to get the relevant insurance that you need. They should be checking your prerequisites. So this means what qualifications or experience you've had before starting this training. So usually we would be looking at someone who had the relevant qualifications or equivalent qualifications within the sector to a minimum of a Level 4, and these would be regulated qualifications as opposed to just your CPD qualifications. Or depending on your background, it could be 3 years experience with the skills that you're thinking about, or with other associated beauty therapy and aesthetic skills, or you could be a medic, or you could be a healthcare professional. You also need to have a really good understanding of the skin and facial anatomy for to make sure that you are not being set up to fail. You need to have that underpinning knowledge to make sure that you feel safe and happy to carry out the treatments and you know exactly what's going on. And what I would say, so just a minute ago, I said that you need to choose the right place. So I would recommend that you look at least 2 or 3 training centres in your area. You need to really have a look at their website, phone them up, have a chat, ask them as many questions as you can think about. Ask them if you can come into the centre, have a look around, maybe meet some other learners, even be a model if you feel happy enough to. Make sure their facilities are nice enough, are good enough for you, and you can see that people are happy. Ask about the support that you'll get throughout the course to make sure that you have picked the right course for you.
So Runa, I've got now a question for you. What's the difference between a regulated course and, for example, like a CPD course?
Hi Dawn, yes, the differences between a regulated and an accredited course is that a regulated qualification is delivered by an awarding organisation that is Ofqual regulated. So Qualifi have been regulated by and accredited by Ofqual. The qualifications that we deliver, or rather that our centres deliver, that we prepare for the centres to deliver, have been they've gone through an Ofqual audit and checked. As an awarding organisation, we're checked. We also link in with any organisations that we need to, like the JCCP or HABIA. Our qualifications also align to the National Occupational Standards. And then once they are recognised by Ofqual and uploaded onto what is referred to as the RQF, which is the Regulated Qualification Framework, then we know that those qualifications have been recognised by Ofqual, who are the government body they are the Office for Qualifications. So they have to meet a desired standard. As I said, we're audited by Ofqual, and each qualification has what's referred to as a unique QAN, a qualification accreditation number. And people can check these qualifications up. So they could go on to the register, which is the register.ofqual.gov.uk, and then they can look at the awarding organisation, they can look at the qualification, and they can note that it's been through those rigours that an awarding organisation would have made sure that they've met. Now, that compared with an accredited course, there are various bodies that will accredit training, and very often accredit training for insurance. And when they're accredited, that organisation might look at what's involved in the delivery of the programme. The programme is usually the centre's own programme. They might rubber stamp, if you like, their own training, but actually they might not ever quality assure that programme from there on afterwards. Whereas with a regulated qualification, we carry out external quality assurance, first of all at the approval process, but then annually and regularly to check that every learner going through that qualification is doing so knowing that they are meeting the standards that are set within the qualification. So every centre delivering that regulated qualification will be following those same standards, which in our case are the Qualifi standards, because we've written the qualification, we've written the assessment criteria, we provide the centres with how they should assess the information on how they should assess those qualifications and the criteria for judging or marking short answer questions or any assessment criteria that's within that qualification. So the centres do go through this rigorous process and are continually checked. Every learner is checked before they're certificated. They're checked not only by their assessor, but they have to have a qualified internal quality assurer, and then there is the sampling through the external quality assurance. Very different from an accredited programme, which might be rubber stamped to start with and never seen again. That's not in all cases, and it's actually not to say that the course might not be good, but it just doesn't meet those regulated requirements that Ofqual and an awarding organisation would require.
Brilliant. It's really refreshing to hear that, you know, it's regularly checked rather than it just being that one bit at the beginning and then that's it. They're like, well, it must be good, instead of, you know, continuing and checking. So that's really assuring to hear that you guys are just so on it. You know, that's absolutely amazing. I was wondering as well, if we could discuss a bit more about what are the risks associated with taking a course that's not for a regulated qualification.
So if you pick a course that is not a regulated qualification, you do not know, as Runa said, that the standards that have been approved for that qualification or that training. When we check out a centre, we make sure that the trainers are fully qualified in what they have to teach. And like you were saying earlier, Dawn, it's really, really good that we go and check, and trainers change, so we have to keep an eye on, and they have to let us know if there's been an update in a new trainer or new experiences or changes to insurance, etc. We have to monitor that, and that's part of our quality assurance process. You don't always know that if you're not on a regulated qualification course, and that can be a little bit tricky. It's really important to also see that all of the products and equipment are CE certified or have a license for marketing for use in the UK. This is really, really essential. And it goes back to one of the first questions you said about picking your course. Ask the centre what products they're using and have a look online to make sure they are, the real deal and not just bought online and in some online shop from China. No offence to China, but you know what I mean. So that's, as I'm saying, that the products are bought from a reputable UK pharmacy or distributor. So as I just said, the centre should be able to give you this information, and it shouldn't be anything that you have to really fight to get. This information should be freely available, and often on the websites they will tell you what products they use anyway, so you can do a bit of research. So when it comes to the unregulated qualifications, you can't always guarantee that they are using what they say they're using, or that you are getting what you're paying for. And the other thing you need to be a bit careful of is if an unregulated qualification states it has a level, that isn't true, because unregulated qualifications aren't levelled in the same way as regulated qualifications are. So you need to be careful when you're reading the information that's being shared with you to make sure that it is what it says on the tin and you're not being misled in any way.
Now, that's definitely key to do research. I mean, when you're doing anything really in life, you tend to do a bit of research, but with something that you want to do a profession in, it's so important to double check and check again that everything's up to snuff.
And it's such a high risk treatment as well, so you need to make sure that you're doing it. If you were having it done to yourself, you would hopefully do quite a bit of research before you went to a practitioner to make sure that they were suitably qualified and that they were, had a prescriber on site, and that they had good products, regulated products or certified products before going in and having the treatment. I certainly would if I was going to have botulinum toxin or dermal fillers put into my body, to be honest.
That's right. So in terms of a student looking at courses and everything else, what could be the impact, for example, if they took a course that wasn't regulated or basically just didn't meet the standards, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so if a course didn't meet the standards, it would mean the student wouldn't be able to gain their insurance. Obviously, insurance is such a massive part of this profession. It needs to be there. Regulated courses should be UK accredited. This is so that, again, the student can gain insurance. So going back to what Laura said, it is so important to really check again that, where you are going to be training is the right place to do so. But yeah, as long as everything's above board, you're happy, and as long as you've done your case studies, it's face to face, then we are happy too.
That's brilliant. Is there any specific qualifiers or pointers that they need to meet in terms of gaining insurance with us? Do you know?
So when aestheticians are applying for insurance with Insync, it will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. We just need to check that their qualifications and experiences are relevant and at the appropriate level to the treatment that they are wanting to offer in the future and that they want their insurance for. We do understand there is a rigorous entry, training and assessment criteria to achieve a regulated aesthetics qualification anyway, and because of that, Insync will be providing a discount for anyone who does come through for Qualifi holding one of their certificates. This will be at 10% for a level 5 and 20% for a level 7.
Brilliant, that's so key to know as well. So if there's anyone listening that maybe at the very beginning of your journey where you're kind of looking into courses, or maybe actually you're ready to start getting out there, I think that's really key to know. If you were looking to get your Insync, looking to get your insurance through Insync, it's always a tongue tie when I have to say the company name and radio. So my last question of the episode is kind of, why is it important to find the right course? I feel like we've maybe hit this nail on the head already, but maybe if there's anyone else wants to add anything. Go for it, Runa.
Yes, just to say that when a centre goes through the initial approval process with an awarding organisation, we actually ask for the CVs and all of the certificates, as well as wanting to know the experience of every trainer, every internal quality assurer, and anybody else that might be associated with the training for that learner. So Laura mentioned about the products and the equipment, but it's also really important that you know that the people who are training you have been thoroughly vetted on and know what they're doing. Because unfortunately, you know, if you learn how to do something badly, then you don't know it's bad. It's only when you actually are taught correctly and able to provide those treatments correctly that you are going to be safe out there for the general public. And you know, anybody going to a provider of these services really should be asking what qualifications that practitioner has. So, you know, I think that's just one of the emphasis. And it is very difficult because we use these terms accredited and regulated, and not everybody does understand the differences between the two. You can have accredited courses that are CPD, and sometimes people will refer to an accredited course, which is a regulated qualification. But just as I mentioned before, there is that difference. There is that ongoing quality assurance and that reassurance, therefore, that people are, you know, fit to be in the industry, able to reassure the general public that the provision of the services meet the highest standards possible. And we will always strive to make sure that if standards change, for example, qualifications are updated as well. They're not static. They're only live for about 3 to 5 years. And at the end of that period, or even beforehand, if something came in, if there was a new rule, or for example, COVID, you know, none of us could have imagined COVID 3 years ago. And yet now with our qualifications, part and parcel of the checks is to check that there is that COVID safety within the premises.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for coming on to discuss this. I think it's very key and hopefully great, and we can help educate a lot of people who are a bit umming and ahhing about the industry and not quite sure what kind of courses, and hopefully this be a good kind of starting point for a lot of people as well. Well, thank you everybody for joining in on this podcast.
I think so.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It's all right.
Thank you.
If you'd like to know more, head to our website insyncinsurance.co.uk, where we have more on our blog, with posts written by brilliant experts. I have been your host, Dawn Cross, and tune in next week for another episode. Insync is one of the UK's fastest growing insurance providers, offering comprehensive cover for SMEs and the self-employed throughout the UK. Our expert team can tailor your insurance to meet your individual business needs and compare prices from our Lloyd's of London approved partners.